This is part 2. I will be talking about the life of Queen Alexandra, her ever-compounding scandals, from affairs, abortions, child loss, a permanent disfigurement, and even more fallout with Queen Victoria. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. It was during her third pregnancy that Alexandra started to suffer from terrible bouts of rheumatic fevers. Her deteriorating health was not approached with much sympathy from her husband, who remained uninterested in her. Alexandra had come from nothing, living in poverty, and so she wasn't going to let a fever ruin her morale. After delivery, she made a full recovery from the fevers, but during the traumatic birth, she suffered a permanent disfiguration. The fevers left the famously fashionable princess, who loved nothing more than showcasing her dresses, with an awful limp. However, she took this problem in her stride and used it to her advantage. She was yet again different to others in her hobby as a fashionista. You would imagine that such a dessailment would gather laughs from the people, but due to Alexandra's charm, quite the opposite occurred. She became the envy of every woman in the kingdom. Her limp even became a fashion trend known as the Alexandra limp, attracting the attention of high society ladies all over London who adopted the limp for years. Alexandra's limp was a hard one to pull off, and this needed the help of the experts, so that her influence on fashion, high society and culture could gain even more traction. The shoemakers of London helped the women of society copy by making mismatched shoes that made it easier for the limp to be achieved by ordinary people. Alexandra wasn't just the one-trick pony of making limps fashionable. She also introduced many trends and fads, such as chokers and dresses with high necklines. These trends were bred completely by accident. Again, her attempt to conceal medical conditions led to more and more trends forming. This time she wanted to hide a hideous and embarrassing scar on her neck with high neck tops. Alexandra's ever-increasing pregnancies took their toll on her body, alongside hereditary illnesses, which led to her health taking a downturn. She stopped socializing as much and spent more time isolated with her children and pets, but her days of suffering had only just started. Alexandra suffered throughout her pregnancies with her health, but she did manage to produce a healthy brood of 5 children. However, during her 6th and final pregnancy, her baby would tragically die after only a single day alive. He was a little baby boy, and Alexandra was understandably devastated. She wished to mourn in private, and she asked Queen Victoria if she could do so. But the Queen disagreed with her mourning approach, which resulted in the 2 royals bickering bitterly. Despite Alexandra wanting her privacy to mourn the loss of her son, she was wickedly expected to mourn very publicly, despite it being Victoria's idea. The people looked upon the spectacle in distaste. Alex had fallen out of favour with the people, and the press bashed her horrifically, blaming her for the loss of her son, with headlines such as "a wretched abortion" and the funeral arrangements as "sickening mummery." It was the lowest point in Alexandra's life so far, and her trials weren't over yet. She was in deep mourning for her child, but the royal duties did not stop. She was still expected to attend a trip to Iceland, where she was booed by thousands of angry nationalists as they waved. Alexandra found the strength to smile through the whole ordeal, while finally gaining the respect from Queen Victoria. It shouldn't have taken such poor behaviours from others and grit and determination to gain this respect, but nonetheless, the Queen said of Alexandra's tireless efforts. She opens bazaars, attends concerts, visits hospitals in my place. She not only never complains, but endeavours to prove that she has enjoyed what to another would be a tiresome duty. She had been making her life miserable for years, and so such high praise was appreciated. Just as Alexandra was moving forward with her life, she was hit with another grief bomb. She was about to lose her favourite child in the prime of his life, and there was nothing that could ever make that pain go away. Her favourite son was soon to be wed to marry Mary of Teck at the prime of his life, but just before his 28th birthday, the strapping young prince surrendered to his illness. She was devastated yet again, and she could not hide it from her face. So much so that her eldest son's future bride, Mary of Teck, wrote to Queen Victoria about Alexandra. She said, "The despairing look on her face was the most heart-rending thing I have ever seen." And off the back of his death, she made him a shrine to remember him. Alexandra said of her son's passing, "I have buried my angel, and with him my happiness." She was totally grief-stricken, and couldn't bring herself to say goodbye to him, so she made his room into a shrine to his memory and left it totally untouched. It would only be a short few years later before the devastating death would rip through her family. Her brother-in-law, Emperor Alexander III of Russia, suddenly passed away. Alexandra knew the feeling of grief all too well, and went to her sister's side. She spent 2 weeks with Dagmar in Russia, even sleeping by her side. It was just like the old days in the drafty attic. The next loss was that of her mother-in-law, Queen Victoria, who died in 1901. They had a long-standing love-hate relationship, but the loss of the monarch catapulted her and her husband straight into the spotlight as a new head of state. With her mother-in-law gone, her husband ascended to the throne, and Alexandra became Queen Consort. She was still using the skills she had learned from her thrifty days in the attic to influence the style in her home. She was no longer making her own clothes, but she did reuse her old stockings and had her old dresses turned into furniture covers. At the heart of Alexandra, she was a kind and generous person. She had gained many riches through her accessibility to the crown, but she was not frivolous with herself. She was more interested in helping others. She would open the checkbook for just about any sob story she had. Her grandson even went so far as to say her generosity was a source of embarrassment. Just 9 days after her 59th birthday, Alexandra had a close call that nearly ended her reign and her life prematurely. While the new Queen Consort slept peacefully in her bed, her room quietly filled with smoke. Thankfully, one of the attendants, Charlotte Knollys, rushed in and whisked her away to the safety at the last second. The grief bombs didn't stop coming, and next up was her own husband. Alexandra was visiting her brother in Greece when her husband, Edward, fell ill. Unlike when he had ignored her when she had rheumatic fever, Alexandra rushed to her husband's side. She made it back to England without a moment to spare, and the very day she returned he had passed away. She wrote, "I feel as if I have been turned into stone, unable to cry, unable to grasp the meaning of it all." He might have been a compulsive womanizer and a scandalous man, but Alexandra still cared deeply for her husband, and now he was gone. Over the years, Alexandra had a remarkably civil relationship with many of her husband's mistresses, but when Edward was on his deathbed, one of them took it too far. Alice Keppel, Edward's longtime mistress, heard that he was ill and rushed to his bedside. Completely unable to control herself, Keppel made such a scene that even the infinitely patient Alexandra had had enough. The Queen Consort muttered, "Get that woman away," and had her guards escort Keppel out. Due to the many matchmakings of her mother-in-law, Victoria, Alexandra had relatives all over Europe through blood and marriage. Alexandra's family fought bitterly. Only when her family had a falling out, entire nations got involved. Alexandra despised her nephew, the German Emperor Wilhelm II, and called him inwardly our enemy. During World War I, he would become outwardly her enemy, and during World War I, no one was safe from the fighting, not even the Queen Mother. If Alexandra thought that being the aunt of the German Emperor would make him look upon her with mercy, she was sorely mistaken. The German forces launched a Zeppelin air raid on Sandringham House when she was still inside. Luckily, Alexandra survived the attack, but other members of their family did not make it out of World War I alive. After all of those years of hardship, Alexandra's age finally caught up with her. She was no longer the youthful fashion icon that she had once been, and aging gracefully just didn't sound like fun. Alexandra tried to cover up all of her ill graces, to preserve her looks by covering her face with heavy makeup, but her days of setting odd fashion trends were long gone. The same people who used to copy her every move, including her limp, started calling her appearance enamelled. In her last few years, Alexandra's health and mental state had deteriorated significantly. She had endured poverty, scandals, and fortune, but it was finally time to throw in the towel. Alexandra passed from a heart attack less than a month shy of her 81st birthday, and she was laid to rest next to her husband. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. Please comment, like and subscribe if you wish for more stories, and leave your suggestions below and I will endeavour to cover them.